Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 82 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Monday, September 11th, 2023. Second straight Monday we've recorded, right? It's just kind of worked out that way for us, but we're getting to it a day later than usual, I guess. But another Hearts football game to talk about this week. I know Mike has got he'll always have some golf to bring up and a little bit of fall baseball to hit on. I think we're going to try to keep it a little shorter today. It's the end of a long day for both of us. And quite honestly,
I'm almost in my jammers, Whitey. I'll just
yeah,
say that.
honestly, I'm going to be pretty blunt. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Effingham football game because really there just wasn't there weren't a ton of positive takeaways from the game. And kind of our mission statement here is that we're here to promote and really talk up the local athletes. And sometimes there's games where there's just if you talk about them too long, you're going to end up not being very positive. And so I probably won't get into it too much, but we can lead off with that. I think, Mike, if you want to.
I listened to you guys on the radio. I could just kind of tell we were coming back from the Craig Dixon tournament in Mattoon. So I was listening to you cruising back home, and you could just I didn't hear everything between unloading vehicles and stuff, but every time I would catch back up, it seemed like there was another touchdown.
Yeah, Effingham, they got beat by Mater Dei 36-14. Mater Dei was a team that struggled last year, and Effingham kind of had their way with them. And looking at Breese Mater Dei's first two games this season, you kind of saw some signs that maybe they were still, not the Mater Dei team that you're kind of used to dealing with, which is you'll feel very fortunate to get a win against them. That's the
Right.
way it usually goes. Like they're solid and a handful, but their results the first couple weeks, there were some things there that just sort of showed you that they were fairly one dimensional in their game and had not had a ton of success throwing the football, which is what they like to do. They like to throw a lot and I guess maybe some of the problem there, and if we were closer to the program and understood them a little more, was that apparently a guy they wanted to throw to a lot wasn't playing the first 2 weeks. But uh, they had a kid named Garrick Winkler that ended up catching. Let me look here. I want to make sure I have this right. He ended up catching 8 passes for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. And again, 2 weeks in a row, Effingham had a receiver that they just couldn't deal with. You know, Mount Carmel had a kid catch 9 or 10 passes, maybe even more than that. And then this Winkler kid comes in, and basically, anytime the ball went his direction, it was going to be a catch. And between that and not really executing offensively in its own right, Effingham just never really felt like they were in the game. They were down. They were down a couple of scores early. They were down 22-0. Got a touchdown before halftime on a pretty good little possession where they busted off a couple of really nice plays, and you kind of thought, well, maybe they'll break it open, but that wasn't to be. Mater Dei got they scored the first points of the second half. They held Effingham quiet in its first possession of the second half, and that was it. 29-14 was as close as it ever got in the second half. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. The Hearts, they struggled on both sides of the football. Coach Hefner, after the game, kind of said, listen, I could see this sort of game shaping up during the week of practice. He didn't feel like his guys were locked in. He didn't feel like he was getting everything out of them. And really, I don't know. It's hard to argue with him based on what we saw on the field. I know Greg tries to keep it positive in those post-game interviews, but there just wasn't a lot of good stuff to say, unfortunately.
Well, coaches are never going to look past an opponent. And sometimes, regardless of what you do as a coach and emphasize about an opponent. Sometimes kids get caught up in saying, hey, we beat them pretty good last year. They're struggling this year, and they don't buy in. Oh, coach is just making them sound good, you know. And, you know, a coach, like Coach Hefner's not going to, he's not going to, his staff's not going to look past someone. But sometimes your kids, they're 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And they listen to the talk. Hey, they did this, they got beat here, they got beat here. Hey, we beat them good last year, blah, blah,
And
blah, blah, blah.
and we're guilty of some of that talk, I mean, I admit that I
Sure, we
was.
are sometimes, but it just, I think I said the Hearts were going to win.
Yeah.
But it's just, and it's a case where when a team maybe isn't ready to go, again, no matter what you say or do, you can pump them up, play the greatest Lou Holtz, Bobby Knight, whatever pregame speech you're going to play. And sometimes they don't respond, and it's just not like you can flip a switch and turn it on.
Right. Yep.
And they just, the word flat, I think, is what I heard from a few people who were at the game. They said the kids just didn't appear to be interested.
Which was not the case the prior week with Mount Carmel in. I mean, that was a team.
And that's the thing. You come off a game like that and, hey, we should have won, blah, blah, blah. Man, look what we did. We battled Mount Carmel. We should have won. And then to have that emotional letdown, it happens. It's in the NFL, they call it the trap game. In college football, hey, they got a trap game. They're looking forward to next week, or they're just coming off a big emotional game. It happens, and it happens at the high school level as well. And that's really what it sounds like. I'm sure I read some quotes from Coach Hefner in the paper, Steve Raymond's article, that made it sound like, there's really going to be some soul searching this week.
Yeah, I don't think I would have wanted to be. I don't think I would have wanted to be around it too much on Monday. I'll just say that. I mean,
yeah, I doubt today's practice was. I mean, there probably was. They didn't bring donuts or anything, so it's and that's the thing. It's nothing changed. You strap it back on. It's not a ball game. They go where Charleston this week, don't they?
Matt Toon this week.
Matt Toon this week.
Yeah, and we'll get to the rest of the Apollo, because that's the thing, is that the way the rest of the Apollo is playing, like, you can't. I mean, losses, like, you needed this one. You kind of did. It seems like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
But as far as the game goes, I mean, if I just to hit on a few quick points, Effingham's having a little trouble getting anything going, throwing the ball so far this year. There's usually one big play a game that'll rack up some yardage and make the numbers look a little better than, like, maybe what the overall passing attack really was. And you did get one of those in this game. Their first half touchdown was a long pass from Gage Gillum to Andrew Lutz, which is, you see that about once a game. Gage will get one, he'll throw it downfield, Andrew will get behind the secondary, and he'll go get it and get it in there. Where they continue to not have as much success is the shorter routes, where you need a little more touch and accuracy, I guess, would be the best way of putting it. And I'm not putting that all on Gage Gillum either, because I think there were some times where he at least felt like he had to rush the throw a little bit. There were some throws where he flat got rid of it, before it had to be before he wanted to. There's just no other explanation, because, and an offensive line was going to be a question mark. So that's understandable, that there's guys that are still just trying to figure out what they're doing. And there's been some moving parts even as this season has gone on. So that's all understandable, but that is just to say that they haven't been able to consistently throw the ball well. And I think that
they haven't consistently ran the ball well either.
No, I mean, Weldon Dunston is doing, I don't think that Weldon Dunston is again, I don't sit and watch the film afterwards, and I wouldn't necessarily know what to look for on this play or that play, even if I did, because like they know what's supposed to happen. I don't. But as far as I can tell, most of the time Weldon's just there's not a lot of most of the time there's not a lot of space to work with. He'll bust one loose, and he's if you looked at him the first couple of times that he had to take a lot of he had to take a lot of runs last year compared to now, he's a much tougher runner than he was. He's grown up a lot in that respect. But you
Is he
can't.
just a junior?
Yeah, he's just junior, and you can't just. Most guys just can't do that. Every play, like you just can't shake off two or three tacklers and make a big play out of it. There's some athletic kids that are able to do it, but Weldon's not quite big enough to make that happen. And he's certainly a tough runner, but there's if the room's not there, there's only so much you can do. So there's offensively, there's just a lot of struggles in, and defensively, I think they again, it's the second straight week that a receiver has just eaten their lunch for them. I mean, they haven't gotten to the quarterback as much. And when the quarterback's got time to make a throw, he's been able to have his guy and pick them apart.
And it sounded like kind of like with Mount Carmel, they kind of focused on one kid. A lot
Oh
of
yeah.
balls.
Yeah, and even there was a certain point where you just knew if the ball was in the air, it was going to go to so and so, and it didn't matter. He was, and again, they were doing some things scheme wise that kept Effingham from being able to like put two or three bodies on this kid, because you had to be honest, and you couldn't just leave the quarterback uncovered and let him run, because he would, and you couldn't.
Right.
They had guys on the other side of the line that you just had to. I mean, they were very strategic about it, and it's been a struggle. So Effingham's 1-2, and I don't think I want to dwell on Friday night's game any more than that, because there just wasn't a lot good to talk about. Had a couple of turnovers in that game too, an interception and a fumble lost on a punt play, on a punt return. Just really is just a game where
It's
nothing.
mistakes you can't make against most teams, especially a good team.
But you got Matt Toon coming in this week, and Matt Toon has Matt Toon's lost a couple of games themselves. They let's see, they lost to Highland last week. That was a 44-22 final. They beat Olney in week 2, 33-6. Doesn't look like Olney's having a great year. Olney hasn't won yet. They've been beat by Taylorville, Mattoon, and then Lawrenceville thumped them last week in their conference opener. So yeah, maybe they're not too strong. And then they went to Triad in week 1 and got smoked 56-20. So, I thought that this Mater Dei game was very important. This Mattoon game is huge. You can't be 1-3 coming out of this. I don't see
because you still have the Muhammad's, the Mount Zion's on their schedule yet to come.
And forget that, you got Charleston too, who's undefeated. Right. I mean, Charleston and Taylorville both undefeated. So your next 4 games if you're Effingham are against a Mattoon team that's 1-2, and then you got undefeated Charleston, undefeated Taylorville, and then you got Muhammad that is 2-1, but their loss was a 6-point loss at Morton. Morton's a bigger school, so it's they beat Highland 28-0. They beat Quincy Notre Dame last week 42-14. So even though Muhammad is probably not quite what it was last year, they're still good. And so, those are your next 4 games. You can't be 1-3 going against
you're exactly right.
teams. Yeah, I just don't see. It would take a gargantuan effort to go 1-3 going into those 3 games and still be alive, still be looking good for a playoff spot after all that. So it's a big stretch. And then Mount Zion after that. Mount Zion is number 6 in Class 4A. they're also undefeated. So conference
Yeah.
play starts this week, and some of those things will shake out a little bit, but the road to the road from here to that final week road trip to a Centralia team that hasn't won yet this year seems pretty long, and
Littered with potholes.
it's going to be a lot of work, and they're going to have to flip a switch that was not flipped in week 3, and that's Coach Hefner said it several times during his interview with us. He said, I got to wear this one too, and so he's going to have to go back to the drawing board as far as what the messaging is and how he tries to get the guys on board and get them to be in that right state of mind. But they do have to understand, like, you got to approach every last one of these games from here on out as kind of a do or die situation, I think. I don't really have much else to say. I think that pretty much covers it. What do you think?
Well, like I said, I'm listening to it. I can tell just by listening to you and Greg. So we'll move on and go from there.
My only addendum to all this is that I'm kind of thinking that maybe Greg just needs to have me do the play-by-play all the time, because it seems like about the time I take over is when a couple of big plays happen. I don't want to.
I heard that. I heard him say that. And then you got a touchdown and probably went to your head.
What can I say? I'm just special like that. No, Greg needs to keep doing. He needs to keep doing it as much as he wants. So that's football for this week. Hopefully, a happier conversation will be following next week after a trip to Mattoon. So, what's next?
Baseball or golf? You call it.
We could touch on baseball real quick. I didn't personally witness any games this week, but I will say some interesting National Trail Conference things happened this week. CHBC beat South Central 10-0 in 6 innings. And CHBC also had a conference game. It wasn't supposed to be a conference game, but it ended up being a conference game because of a prior cancellation. They played Diedrich on Saturday and beat them 2-1. And so they're all of a sudden third in the conference behind St. Anthony and Altamont. St. Anthony still hasn't lost a game yet. And Altamont, by my count, now varying media outlets dispute this, but I feel like I'm pretty confident in what's been a conference game and what hasn't been a conference game. I've still got Altamont and St. Anthony both at 5-0 in conference play, but they're CHBC and South Central then both at 3-2. And North Clay's got a couple of wins. Windsor Stew-Stras is just 2-4. So they've taken a step back from the last couple of years, it would appear. But I just thought that was interesting that Cowden Herrick Beecher City is up there in the mix in the upper echelon. That doesn't happen for them every year, but it's nice to see. It's nice to see. I need to investigate a little bit more. I assume that they've got some decent pitching.
I bet Matt Robinson can tell you.
Yeah,
friend of the show, Matt.
I'll have to see if I still got that guy's number. Hit him up.
Check him out.
He's probably not quite as plugged in this year as he was last.
You're right. He's probably hearing it from a lot of places. So who knows?
Anyway, St. Anthony is St. Anthony. They had a couple of fairly non-competitive games this week. They beat Brownstown St. Elmo 14-2, and they beat Neoga 18-1. You want to see?
Sounds like they still got their hitting shoes.
Yeah, they're scary good with the bats, and the pitching is the pitching's pretty good too. We talked about the Loritzen kid pitching a little bit for them. Obviously, Brock Faraday is really good, and they've got some pretty exciting pieces there. One thing I've noticed.
Connor Repke briefly walking out of church Sunday. I said, "Hey, talked to his dad actually." I said, "I understand your son's hitting the baseball." As well, so far he is. So
he's had the most impressive swing I have seen this fall. We talked about his home run in the thing last week, but That's up there for me. You know, these NTC schools when they play non-NTC schools in the fall, one thing I can tell you is that it is just a guaranteed 5 inning game because they just dump the crap out of them. It's
Mhm.
it's night and day between them and some of the other fall baseball programs in the Southern
And
part of the
you
state.
look at it, other than T-Town, who do they
Other
play?
than T-Town, yeah.
You're playing the mid, and the thing is, again, I go back to some people asking me, and surprisingly, some parents of kids who played in the fall, they're like, we're not sure fall baseball's still earning its keep, I guess is the best. I
Well,
don't know.
don't tell that to anybody who coaches fall baseball because
I
they,
know. I'm just saying. I'm just the messenger. I
yeah, I
mean, I'm
mean,
I'm hearing this from parents of kids who were good ball players. This isn't me sitting here going, I'm going to
oh
stir
yeah.
the shit and have here's my talking point of the day. No,
Now, I mean, the rumor mill last year was that if St. Anthony made a deep run, a little bit deeper run in the postseason, like if they'd made it to the state, that there'd be some people elsewhere in the state outside the National Trail Conference that would start
right?
to
Because that would
start
have
to make.
been potentially three national trail teams in a row making deep runs.
Yeah, it was some definitely some rumor mill stuff that
There's
people kind of
parts of the state that are not happy. I can tell you that.
right. Yeah. I mean, listen, is it an advantage? Sure, but I mean, nobody's making these other schools not have it. I don't
Well, they
think.
can't. I guess they won't let them have it if they have football. That's a rule.
Well, cancel your football if it matters that much to you.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
I'm biased,
All
obviously.
right, let's before we get in trouble, let's switch gears, buddy.
Let's do it. I mean, quite honestly, we could talk golf and we can be done as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
we'll wrap it up with golf. And just the Holy Trinity, FEM St. Anthony T-Town, all three were at the Craig Dixon Memorial Tournament in Mattoon.
Mm-hmm.
One day you play Mattoon Country Club, the next day you play Meadowview. Um, Good tournament, really good tournament. It's Bob Lockhart used to run it. He and Craig were really good friends, and um, I don't mean this as a slight against the Mattoon folks, but it's just not the level it was before. If that makes sense. St. Anthony finished second. They had a 2-day total of a 607. And Chatham Glenwood had a 2-day total of 605. And Edwardsville was third with a 2-day total of 613. Effingham finished, I think, 12th, maybe, with a 2-day total of 653. And the Wooden Shoes were 15th, I believe, with a 659. So there was a lot of, a lot of schools in there. Effingham may have been 13th. I wasn't 100% sure on that. I was trying to look at it, but it's spreadsheet's not what we used to get where you could really see stuff listed. So, a good tournament. I think St. Anthony got off to a good start. They led after day one. They played at Meadowview the first day. They kind of split it. Some of the bigger schools are at Meadowview the first day, and smaller schools per se are at Mattoon Country Club the first day. First day was a little breezy. I know it's hard to believe it was breezy up in Coles County up there. Day two, Meadowview at 8 o'clock shotgun. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little chilly. A little chilly in that golf cart. I had to put my windshield up. I'm
Hmm,
elderly and my blood's thinner now. I was a little cold.
tragic.
But I no long pants, still had shorts, just had a little Christmas tournament vest on over a t-shirt, and kind of wishing I had a long sleeve shirt on there for a little while, Whitey. Good day though. Golf pretty good. Teams generally play better at Meadowview than they do Mattoon Country Club. Just a little Meadowview's a little easier course in my opinion. Mattoon Country Club is kind of narrow, a lot of trees.
I was gonna say Meadowview used to be wide open back in my days of
Well, there's
playing.
trees at Meadowview now. They have grown up, and you still got the dreaded teepee hole, even though there's no teepee. Everyone calls it the teepee hole. Because they used to have one of those
Remember it.
road salt storage things,
Mm-hmm.
I think is what it was. Tough hole. But yeah, spend a little time talking to coaches, watching kids, and it seems like the atmosphere is a little more laid back at Meadowview. You got to talk to coach, talk to a couple of the only coach, Coach Neilison. Um, got to talk to him a little bit, and Mount Carmel, Abby Lacey, who played against my daughter, and Coach Schaefer and I talked quite a bit. So it was a good day. It really was. And, kids played well. Effingham nipped us both days. So I think they took a 4-1 or 4-2, whatever the lead was for the year. So, we have to concede to them this year.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's all right. They're good matches. We're close. We've been really close every time we've played, really. So that's good. And I just think that tells you what golf in this area. St. Anthony will try to go back and repeat here in a couple weeks. But the gap between St. Anthony and Effingham and St. Anthony and T-Town is not as wide this year as it was last year. It's tightened up a little bit, and which is good. It's good competitive matches when we're around each other. So we'll have to see. I think us and St. Anthony will both be at Paris Saturday for an invitational. Since we'd lost a invitational, they invited us, and we're going. I'm not a huge fan of their course, but my kids are going to play 18 holes, so we'll see.
Better to play than not play, right?
Well, that's the way I look at it. We just got home. That's why we're late. We got home from we were at St. Elmo with Altamont, Casey, and Newton, and I shot a 151. I had 36, 238s, and a 39. Freshman Isaac Weber, 36, sophomore Cohen Pennington, and junior Brody Taylor, 38s, and Hayden Jansen, 39 is my counters. And my JV, I had 2 JV squads tonight. One of them went to a Hatchet invite up at Timberlake, up around Lake Shelbyville, and they came away with a championship, little hardware for the shoes.
Nice.
Owen Kramer was our match medalist with an 81. So, then I had another JV team at the country club playing St. Anthony's JV. St. Anthony's JV is missing a couple kids, probably 3 of their normal JV kids. So they were a little lighter load, and we beat them 174, 176, I think. So, one of those good days, you see a good day for our program, and still had 12, had 20 kids playing today. Still had 11 not playing today. They had to take a day off. I ran out of coaches. That's a good thing. And good to see. Big match next Monday. St. Anthony hosts the big match play tournament. Benton comes in. FEM, T-Town, Benton, Olney, Bloomington Central Catholic is coming down. Anna Jonesboro, Massac. Did I say Olney? Paris. Real good match. Good. If a person wants to see some really good golf next Monday afternoon, I'm telling you, you go to the FEM Country Club, you're going to see some golf, some really good golf, and played by some pretty good kids. And Monday's supposed to be no rain and 77 is a high. You can't ask for much better than that.
No, wouldn't complain about that. Nope.
No, hey, that starts at 1 o'clock. Coach Carey's put this together. It's different playing match play. I love playing match play. Play 2 9-hole matches. You kind of mix it up. I know we'll play against, some good things, but it is. If you would just like to see some high school golf, that's a place to go.
Speaking of places to go, to centrally located things to see a lot of good players, they had the Crossroads Classic volleyball tournament.
Yeah, that was this weekend. I haven't seen any results from it at all, Whitey. I've been buried.
I am looking at them right now, and the reason I want to mention them real quick is because Windsor Stew-Stras had a nice little showing. They're actually a co-host of the thing anymore.
Okay.
They co-host it with Effingham. Everything takes place in Effingham, but Windsor Stew-Stras listed as one of the hosting teams, and they actually they went 2-0 in their pool and got into the gold flight. And you know, they didn't win a match in the first 2 games of the gold flight. They ended up losing in the 7th place match, but they played Breese Mater Dei really tough, took them to 3 sets, lost the last set 25-23, and Mater Dei ended up losing to Edwardsville in the 5th place match. And then they also played a they played the Newburgh Castle team, pretty tough, 25-20, 25-15, and that team won the 3rd place match. So, it sounds like they held their own against
some big teams.
Pretty good competition.
Well, that's how you get better.
Yeah, Effingham and T-Town both went 1-1 in their Friday pool play. So they both ended up in the
silver.
Let me make sure I've got this right. T-Town, they beat Graves County, and then they lost to Edwardsville. So, and then Effingham, they beat Terre Haute South and lost to an Ozark team that ended up the champion. Okay, Ozark won the whole thing. So Effingham and T-Town both ended up in the silver flight. And T-Town lost the 7th place match to Belleville Althoff. So T-Town, they lost to Fairfield in the silver flight, and then they played Effingham, and Effingham beat them in the silver flight, which meant that Effingham got to play for 5th place, and they lost to Plainfield North. So T-Town,
they're playing as we speak. Effingham and T-Town are playing tonight.
Are they? So
I had to maneuver the short bus through a lot of traffic in the parking lot, unloading my kids.
So they're getting a quick rematch. But anyway, Effingham ends up 6th in the silver flight, T-Town 8th in the silver flight. But again, like it's such high caliber competition year in and year out that like you don't necessarily focus on how you finished. You focus on how you played against some pretty good schools. And it really sounds like T-Town, Effingham, Windsor Stew-Stras, they all played well and had strong performances against good competition. So that's nice to see.
Girls tennis sounds like T-Town's playing really well. They I think won the tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
Cross country, I think I saw Effingham's girls had the perfect finish in a cross country meet, took spots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's hard for me to be on top of it all. There's only so
many and I can't. And again, with now that I'm officially elderly, when I get done with golf practice, and my wife sometimes makes me go on a walk with her afterwards, and I sometimes sneak a little short supper in there, and then it's bedtime for Bonzo. And I'm here to tell you.
Yeah. Well, at least you don't have to worry about like catching the end of a Cardinals game or anything like that.
No, I don't. I can't. I don't have them available, and I don't even I used to kind of monitor the old game cast on ESPN. I don't even do that anymore. I'll check a score now and then.
Well, I made the mistake, Mike, of letting myself feel maybe just a glimmer of optimism about the NFL season starting, and then I watched the Bears, and by the 3rd quarter, I was back to.
I watched about an hour of the Bears game between trying to take naps after the. Let's see, when did they start? Were they the second game?
They were an afternoon game, like they were a 3:30, 3:20.
Yeah, because we had the Catholic Charities Joe's do the spaghetti feed. So by the time I got home, I got to watch a little of the Bears game because I was trying to take a nap, and boy, they about put me to sleep. Bears offense, not very impressive. I'm just going out on the limb.
Yeah, and
their defense wasn't very impressive.
No, their defense isn't very good either. Like people are like, oh well, Jordan Love looks okay after all. And it's like, let's just pull back on those reins a little bit until they play somebody that seems like
he was playing an easy course. He wasn't playing Mattoon Country Club.
Yeah. The offense, like, I don't know. I mean, it's the same. It's been the same shit since I've basically been alive, Mike, is that they they have you never know how good the quarterback is because like he's never really gets a chance to do anything, like
Well, and I heard an interesting comment. They like to get 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 because that is the strength of Justin Fields, so he can either in his RPO. And I'm thinking, your goal is to have 3rd and 3, third
whoever
and 4. That was a
whoever
cooler
said that
commentator. I was like, are you kidding me?
whoever said that is doing a tremendous amount of coping with the situation that's at hand because like nobody wants to be 3rd and 4. Nobody
That's what
wants
they
to
were
be third and
saying. That's
four.
what they said. I couldn't believe it. I thought, really?
I
And
mean,
they made it sound like that's what they were told in the meeting, that, hey, this is our sweet spot. You know, my
I
sweet
don't
spot,
know.
3rd and inches. 3rd and inches is my sweet spot.
Well, they call plays like they. I will say they call plays like they want to be 3rd and 4 because they
Well,
every time
it's like when you have a drive going late in the game and you know you're going to have 4 downs and you have 3rd and 6. Okay, let's just get 3 or 4. And no, it's like that's their mentality.
you
The
have
whole game is what they were kind of
you
alluding
have
to. I
this
felt,
this dynamic, athletic quarterback,
who's going to just be beat the hell. I'm just
and
telling.
you have gone out and gotten a nice receiver in DJ Moore to go with the guys that you already had. Although Chase Claypool is worthless, he won't. He can't. He doesn't.
I like when he tried to set a block on the bubble screen, and
Yeah, it got
right
pushed
now where I'm at, I could have had a better. I showed more effort right now than
back.
he did. I was like,
But
holy cow.
you have all that, and then you absolutely refuse to ever do anything besides run between the tackles on 1st down. It's maddening because if you've watched football at all, like that is just not how the game is played anymore. Okay, but
No, and it's the old, we're going to rely on our defense. Well, you leave them on the field too much, and they really, secondary struggled. They made Jordan Love look pretty good.
well, in the defense in the first half didn't honestly didn't look that bad. But again, it's just a matter of having to be on the field that much.
Better time when you don't have a sustained drive to sit on the sideline and gather your air. So, yeah, that's one of those things.
Yeah,
And again, I guess my allegiance would be to the Rams, but I don't have that allegiance anymore since they went back to LA. So I know they won, but I couldn't tell you 6 players on the team.
well, I'm gonna have to just rely on my football happiness coming from a fantasy team, which does appear poised to be leading the league in points after a week.
There you go.
And that's without Lamar Jackson doing anything much. He didn't play very well, but Tyreek Hill did.
I don't do fantasy football, Whitey, so I have no idea what it is you speak of.
I kind of told myself this year going into the draft that if this year goes the way it usually does for me in fantasy football, then I'm just not going to do it anymore because it's a
Then
waste.
you were going to pull a Mike Wilson and not be involved. I'm the only person probably in America that doesn't have a fantasy team.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I enjoyed it, but between him and then I had Aaron Jones, the running back for Green Bay.
He pulled a hammy.
Yeah, I know. I said, that's my football watching life. Like I'm watching my favorite team get its ass handed to it on national TV, in a prime slot. And I'm saying to myself, well, at least my guy on my fantasy team just scored his 2nd touchdown. And
see, that's why I think fantasy
he
is so
grabs for his
messed up.
leg.
You're more worried.
Well,
I've seen guys in major golf tournaments, let's say, possibly at the Cardinal, and they're spending more time on their phone checking their fantasy team than worrying about trying to win a damn tournament. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm not doing this again. It was
well,
nuts. Hey,
I
woo! We missed a 3-foot putt. Woo! I just got 7 yards from Otis Anderson. No.
well, listen, if your team is garbage, then it's a nice little insurance policy. But then it's doubly frustrating when you're me and the Bears haven't been good for quite a while, and
your fantasy is
my
terrible.
fantasy team is consistently in the bottom half of the league. but it is what it is. At least the Braves are good, and then that's fine. I will live with that. All
All
right.
right. Hey, starting after golf season's over, I get back to getting my Wednesdays off. I think I'm gonna start playing golf on Wednesdays just to shake the rust off.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have
We'll
to.
see.
Maybe you'll have to get me out on the course with you once. I haven't played since my class reunion last year, but
I know.
all I'm saying is it went better last year than I thought it was going to, and
Well, you got 4 more years before you play again, Whitey. You'll be all right.
just get. I think the key there was actually get a couple of adult beverages in my system and loosen up a little bit, not worry too much.
See, I can't do that anymore, so I have to figure some other way out.
Well, if you play it straight, I'll play it straight. We'll put it that way. All right. I think that's it.
That's all I got.
Yep. Go to bed, man.
I am. I'm tired.
All right. Hey, if you're still watching this, if you've been sticking with us for the last 45 minutes or whatever, then
You're still watching this. Basketball season is coming.
basketball season's coming, but you can subscribe now. Do it. Like if you
Sure.
haven't subscribed, why haven't you? Just pump our numbers up a little bit. And
We got to figure out what we're going to do for the 100th show about your hair.
I haven't agreed to anything.
Did you say which show this was?
82? I said it.
Did you?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Shows you how much I was paying attention.
I don't know if I want to keep this for another 18 weeks or whatever.
That'd be more of a reason.
I'm tired of it right now. If I could, I
See, I think I get mine cut again Wednesday.
I don't know. We'll see. I just don't think I could pull it off, Mike. I'm going to take this tack with this conversation this time. I just don't think I have what it takes to pull off the look. It's a rare breed that can make it work, and I just might not have the juice for that.
Hey, whatever you got to tell yourself, Whitey. I understand.
Anyway, yeah, subscribe, share this with your friends. And again, basketball is coming up, and it seems like we get our best numbers and best engagement when the basketball season rolls around. But we try to do a good job with the football and other stuff too. So
subscribe. Well, basketball involves everyone.
I think maybe you and I can just talk a little more intelligently about it. We see more games too, which helps,
Right. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to see a football game yet because I've had golf matches. So
everybody else, Larry Wilson was out at the game this week.
Yeah,
Morgan Wilson was at the game. She kept McKenzie company. Accompanied her on 2 or 3 trips to the concession stand from the
South. Well, she said she sat with your daughter. She said it was something. Moon must have been full. Said Mac was talking a little bit.
Yes,
yeah, such a weird thing to happen for Mackenzie.
Yeah, you can do like Mac and just stick your head in the screen.
I finally met someone who talks more than I do.
Well, I was gonna say you guys are kindred spirits.
Heckle and Jekyll.
It was good. Mackenzie, she's the big point. She's gonna have to find somebody else in Mattoon though, and I don't know who that's gonna be. But she wants to go to Mattoon with me this week, and I was like, "Well, you're not gonna be in the press box. I could tell you that much." And
I'll be coming home. No, I won't be. I don't have. I don't even think we don't have a match Friday. Friday maybe. I'll be in bed probably by 7, listening to you and Greg.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll give you something a little better. Okay, we were signing off like 5 minutes.
We were. You drug this on.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
See you, Whitey.